What is up, everybody? Tonight we have our first ever Rotojoes live stream. Let me get this set up. We've never done this before. We're gonna start doing underdog drafts like this. So, have a bunch of off-season topics. We'll talk about what's going on in this underdog draft, all this good stuff. It's rolling pretty quick already, so that's nice. I'm at the 105. This is a one quarterback best ball draft, so I don't have to set the lineup again. I just draft, and the best players are gonna get into my starting lineup. So we'll see how this goes here. Right now, I'm kind of eyeing maybe Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. Definitely not a running back right now at this spot. I don't really like them where they'll fit right here, but let's just start diving into some of this offseason transaction news real quick. Khalil Herbert season. I'm really happy to see what he does this year. I hope he survives the offseason. I'm not too worried about a Deontay Foreman sighting where Foreman's a good running back, yes, but he's not anything special. He's not going to be taking a lion's share of the work from a Khalil Herbert. I hope they don't bring in a third, fourth round guy to muddy it even further. That's what I'm worried about. Khalil Herbert was in that running back 35 to 45 range last year. He was encouraging, but we just need to see him get more workload. All right, so we have Justin Jefferson off the board as the first pick. I think that's going to be the first pick in 2023 drafts for the time being. All right, I hope I don't get sniped here for Kelce. I know I can grab a wide receiver in the second, third, fourth round. I'm not going to get a Kelce again. In the Chiefs' offense, they haven't brought in a stud wide receiver, so they're not going. Oh, perfect. All right, so here we go. First pick, guys. We are going to take, if it works with me here, we are going to grab Travis Kelce at the 105. Honestly, I think I listened to an argument about Kelce at the 102 and think it's fair. I don't think he's quite the 101. Justin Jefferson is just that good. But Kelce's going to be a monster this year. I faded him the last 2 years. I learned my lesson. Until he starts to decline, he's the tight end one, and he's worth a first-round pick. All right, back to offseason hearings. I have David Montgomery to Detroit on a 3-year, $18 million deal. He's going to be replacing Jamal Williams, who went to the Saints. I'm curious about this. Obviously, we can tell the signal here is that Detroit does not believe DeAndre Swift is a number one starting running back. Doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to play a role and be a good pass catcher for Detroit. But at least the Detroit front office and coaching staff probably aren't viewing him as a workhorse stud RB1 on that team. Or they wouldn't be signing David Montgomery to 3 years, $18 million. However, I still think Swift is a buy low at cost. People are going to be freaking out. This is a guy last year you could sell for a veteran RB1 plus a first, plus maybe more depending on who it was. I mean, this guy was a top 12 running back in redraft leagues last year going into draft season. He was for sure a top 5 dynasty running back. And look what we all thought we knew, and look at the outcome this year. So, I think Swift is a good buy low just due to the fact that he might get traded. He is a talented back. We have seen him produce. In Detroit, he's not going to be that, barring a David Montgomery injury, which could very well happen. David Montgomery is also a dynasty buy low. I think both of these Detroit backs are, for different reasons, though. Montgomery is a more talented version of a Jamal Williams, right? A guy that can catch passes out of the backfield well. Not the most explosive runner, but he's good 10 yards and in. Guy that can create more yards than was available on most plays. So I don't necessarily think this is just going to be, David Montgomery's a jag. Oh, he's done. But I would temper your expectations. There's going to be no RB4 David Montgomery year this year like there was a couple years ago. Okay, pick coming up. All right, we're looking at Bijan Robinson. We're going to go ahead and just look at running backs and wide receivers. I'm not looking at quarterbacks yet. So I got Bijan Robinson, Waddle, Higgins, Smith. I think we'll play with a 0 RB unless Bijan falls to me. I've been taking a lot of second-round Breece Hall. And I was a guy who wasn't a huge Breece Hall fan last year in fantasy, but I'm sold. So if I get Walker, Breece, which I will, I'll grab them rather than a Higgins, Smith, or Olave because I pick here in 5 or 6 picks after this anyways. So I feel like I'll grab a good tier 2, tier 3 wide receiver there. I probably can't get a Kenneth or a Brees with my next pick. All right, he's going to time out. All right, guys, and we are left with our pick of either of them. I have 30 seconds. Let's think about this here. Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's in the worst offense. Give me Brees Hall with Aaron. That's a bump. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns and be involved. I like Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker's a little overdrafted. I think he's a back-end RB1, like RB7 to 12, whereas Brees Hall has legit top 3 RB potential. He was the top 7 RB last year pre-injury. All right, segueing off of the David Montgomery talk, let's talk about James Cook, and we're picking in 6 picks, so we'll have to break up here shortly and pick. So Brandon Beane came out the other day and was talking about adding a power back in Buffalo, which makes a lot of sense when you think about the fact that their power backs in recent years have been Zach Moss, who's a jag, just a guy, and then also Josh Allen effectively, which isn't going to be a great way to protect your $250, $300 million asset. So with news of this power back coming in, the big question is, what's James Cook role going to be? I don't think there's a chance that he's going to dominate touches. I really don't. He might get 30 to 50% of the opportunities. I think that's a fair expectation. Okay, we're going to stop there, start thinking about our pick. Henry, Chubb, I see Metcalf, I don't really like Debo right here. Let's see what we got lower. I might go quarterback because I know I'm not going to get a good one on the way back. We'll see here, though. I'm not in love with third-round Justin Fields. I like early quarterback, but I'm probably going to skip out on that. We'll see where this guy above me goes. All right, he took Jacobs. I have my choice between Henry, Chubb, Etienne, Debo, Hopkins. Give me Hopkins. Hopkins is the only guy here that I think has a real great shot at being a wide receiver 1. Maybe Calvin Ridley, too. I'd listen to Ridley. Hopkins, though, was he was the wide receiver 12 in half PPR points per game last year, coming off the suspension after he was washed. So I really think Hopkins, he's going to be smart about where he is going to, he's not choosing, but he is kind of choosing where he goes. He'll be smart about where he wants to end up, so I like Hopkins in the 3rd round. That's really good value for a player who might be over that prime age, but continues to be in his prime. All right, back to James Cook. I think that 30 to 50% of an opportunity share is pretty fair to expect from a guy like James Cook. He was never going to carry the lion's share of the opportunities in the backfield. He's too small. He was a fun, explosive player, but, again, just never going to do that. What I'm curious about is if he ever materializes as a pass-catching back. He's very explosive. We saw it a little bit last year, and if he can materialize into a guy that can catch 5 to 7 passes per game on top of 10 carries, on top of playing in that high-octane offense, yeah, he's an RB2, no problem. If he fails to develop into that high-end pass catcher, he's going to really struggle because, again, he's never going to get the lion's share of the carries. He's never going to be a true goal line back, especially with Allen there, especially with the power back there. So I do worry about him a little bit. I'm not running to go buy James Cook right now. I'm kind of waiting and seeing. I wouldn't sell him either, though, because I think that there's a chance that he has a few explosive games and you can sell him for really high, especially in a dynasty league. Taylor Heineke to Atlanta. I would be willing to say he probably starts more than 4 games this year. I'm not sure Ritter's going to be anything at all of value there, and I'm sure that they're going to see that pretty quick. And Heineke's he's an average NFL quarterback. Nothing too crazy. He'll win you some games. They should take anything they can get health-wise. That quarterback situation's bad. It was bad last year. It's been bad since they had to deal with getting rid of Matty Ice's contract. It'll be bad until they draft a guy. So I don't think he's the solution permanently. He might be a good stopgap. I know that Ritter's not it, and that's where I feel like that's at least a good signing. Real quick, March Madness update. We got Colgate losing to Texas by 13. Northwestern up by 5 against Boise State, so Boise State's cut that by quite a bit. I I think we're waiting for a couple games to start here. Not sure, hasn't shown yet. I'm 5 picks away, so let's check the board out here. My team so far, Kelsey, Hall, Hopkins, so I could go a lot of different ways here. I see Calvin Ridley here. I like Calvin Ridley. I'm not grabbing Swift, not grabbing Cooks. Jameer Gibbs, I'm not a Jameer Gibbs guy, right? He's a high-end satellite, way overdrafted. Yeah, I'm going to sit this running back tier out because I'd rather wait for this J.K. Dobbins, Pacheco, Mixon tier. James Cook, who we're just talking about, if I'm going to grab a guy who doesn't have a certain volume amount, I'm going to grab a James Cook who at least plays in an explosive offense. They sniped me on Ridley, of course. So we got Watson, who I'm avoiding with Jordan Love. We got Michael Pittman, Drake London, Christian Kirk, McLaurin. Judy's gone. I think I might go McLaurin here. Let's see what's down the board. I'm tempted to go Jackson Smith and Jig, but that guy is going to be a elite wide receiver stepping into the league right away. What's going on with the quarterbacks here? Lamar. I want to grab Lamar bad, but I don't know if I am that ballsy quite yet. 7 seconds. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead. Upside shot in a best ball league. Oh, no. It gave me him. Sweet. Okay, grab Jake London there. Sorry. This is new. Learning. Caden and I are going to be doing this on Saturday night, so this is my practice run. So Saturday night there will be no almost timeouts on a pick. All right, so let's talk about that pick, right? I grabbed Drake London, Christian Watson available, Michael Pittman available, Christian Kirk available. Drake London has the elite wide receiver traits that you look for when you're picking, young guys who are going to ascend higher than they finish. Off the top of my head, I want to say he finished somewhere within wide receiver 30 to 50 in half PPR points per game, which is only 2 or 3 points of separation a game between those guys. Pittman, if Indianapolis ends up with Stroud or Young, I'm buying. I would have taken Pittman there. The issue, I don't think Houston's going to trade with him, even though I talked about it on our last pod. I love the idea, but I don't think Houston's trading with them. So they're going to end up probably with a Richardson or Levis, barring Carolina doing something absolutely wild with their selection. All right, let's just put a stop there. 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end. It's probably about time to think about quarterback. Joe Burrow's looking good here in the 5th. I'm thinking about maybe grabbing a running back here. I, again, don't like this tier, though. I'd really like to avoid it. Especially with McLaurin right there. McLaurin at wide receiver 27, 26 is great value. He was pushing up into that mid to high wide receiver 2 range last year. That was a little bit rich for me. Let's go ahead. We're going to round out wide receiver. We'll grab Terry McLaurin. I'm thinking about grabbing Trevor Lawrence type, Dak Prescott type of quarterback in these next 2 rounds. I've learned my lesson these last 2 years. Don't fade quarterbacks. That's dumb. All the rosters that I've had that do well have good quarterbacks. And you think it sounds good waiting for Kirk Cousins. And you think it sounds good waiting for a Ryan Tannehill a couple years ago. There's only 12 top 12 quarterbacks, which sounds really stupid, but think about it. You have 6 elite guys, 2 runners, so that's 8. There's 4 of 32 starters left to fill the last 4 spots. It's not going to go to all these mediocre quarterbacks every single year that have breakout years. And if you're stuck grabbing a Tannehill or a Kirk Cousins, who's a mid quarterback too, it sucks. And there are weeks that you're going to lose because of that mid quarterback too not performing. It's worth it to spend up. And you don't need to be a first 3-round quarterback guy. I don't disagree for a Allen, Mahomes, maybe Fields eventually reaching that height. But you don't need to feel like you need to be quite that aggressive at the position. But first 8 rounds, you should have a quarterback. You should also have a tight end. I was pretty cocky with Njoku and Evan Ingram last year, and that did me pretty well. That was very lucky. Seldom do you hit on 2 tight ends. Very little do you hit on 1 lotto tight end. So don't just bank on that every year. Okay, 6, 7 turn. I got to grab a running back, and I got to grab a quarterback. We'll see who falls to us. I'm really liking J.K. Dobbins. I'm a huge Isaiah Pacheco guy as well. barring any crazy running back deals to Kansas City, which when you're paying Pat Mahomes $500 million, you really don't have room for expensive running backs. I think Pacheco is going to be a guy who could sneak into that bottom RB1 conversation at the end of the year. I'm not saying he will, but that's a high-powered offense. He's a good runner. He's only going to get better, so I wouldn't be shocked if he pushes into that conversation, again, if he survives the offseason. I'm curious to see how Jerick McKinnon does next year. I hope he returns to the Chiefs. I haven't heard one way or another. I would really like to see him return and play in a similar role. He was very successful. He's tailor-made for the role. He also pass protects really well, which is a thing that matters more in that system than I think a lot of people realize. So, yeah, I hope Jerick McKinnon comes back. I'd be interested. Back on Pacheco, though. Hope he falls to me here. I'd really like to grab him. He's explosive. He's good getting to the 10-yard and out part of the field. He's not just a runner who can go 10 and in. He can break 10 yards and out, which is important for fantasy success. You want breakaway runs. He's a guy that I'm going to be really overweight on. We have 3 more picks. I'm just killing time until my pick, because if I start going on a tangent, I'm going to totally forget what I'm doing and then miss my pick, and it's going to suck. So I think right here I'm targeting Pacheco. I know that sounds a little crazy with Swift, Pierce, Dobbins all on the board still. I would listen to Dobbins, however, I don't think Baltimore's going to be that good, and I think a lot of games they're going to be trailing. So I'm probably going to put Pacheco at tier above. Mixon down here at RB23 is interesting. I think that has a lot to do with that unfortunate accident with the kid in his backyard. I don't know if he's going to get cut or not, but he's a guy. I mean, they only have Travion Henderson on that roster past him. I doubt they're going to go into the season like that. We're going to go ahead. Man. All right, we're going to go Joe Mixon. The upside's too good. The upside's just too good. Yeah, we'll go Joe Mixon there. I'm hoping Pacheco falls to me on this turn. I know I just talked about, you need to lead the first 8 rounds with a quarterback, and I don't have a quarterback, but it'll be fine. I see Dak Prescott sitting there. I'm sure that I can get, famous last words, I'm sure I can get a Kirk Cousins later on and be okay. It's because it's best ball, it's a little more acceptable to do this, guys. It's not quite as poor form to just wait on a quarterback in best ball, because if you grab 3 or 4, it'll piece together pretty well. Colgate is down by 15 now to Texas, and we got Northwestern up 5, just got N1. No, Boise State just got N1. 3 picks to go. I still see Pacheco there. I'm pretty sure we'll go Pacheco. Let's see, quarterbacks. Yeah, we'll grab Pacheco and hope Dak falls to us. I think that's the plan. Samaje Perine goes to Denver. I'm curious to see how that goes. He's a guy that you can probably draft really late in a lot of drafts, and he'll be a producer. Pacheco goes 3 picks before me. Beautiful. Okay, change of plans. We might go Dak Prescott. Tyler Algier is interesting. So is Dobbins, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets sniped by one of these 0 RB guys. Yup. All right. Give me Dak Prescott. I can't keep going without a quarterback. I'm not going to get stuck with a guy that's not going to be a quarterback 1. All right, Dak Prescott, that's a locked-in quarterback 1. I don't care what you say. It doesn't mean he's a high-end quarterback 1, but he will be a top 12 quarterback. So, Samaje Perine, I don't think Javonte Williams is going to be back early next year necessarily. If they're really having a lot of success, then potentially, but I doubt that they rush him back. I'm sure they let him take his time. Perine's the only back on the roster that's worth anything, really. So I think that he probably plays a decent role. How long that role is there for him is the question, and that's something, that uncertainty is something a lot of people don't want to risk and bet on, and I understand that completely. So Perine wouldn't reach for him, wouldn't trade too much for him, but he's a worthwhile just swing. He'd be a single. Orlando Brown got a 4-year, $64 million deal in Cincinnati. If I remember right, last June he could have signed a deal that was much higher than that. But he didn't, which is okay. Well, Not okay for him, but it's okay for Cincinnati. Cincinnati gets, I wouldn't call him the best left tackle in the game, but probably a top 12 left tackle in the game. Much better run blocker than pass blocker, which is where I'm confused on all of this. I think the Chiefs did pretty well with that whole Jawan Taylor deal, except for the fact that they only paid him. I haven't looked at guarantees, so I might be wrong. They paid him $4 million less than they would have had to pay Brown, and that part is what I'm confused about. But people forget Orlando Brown was a right tackle that moved to left tackle. Jawan Taylor next to Joe Tooney's probably going to be fine, if we're being honest. In an Andy Reid system, they'll be okay. We got 7 picks. Let's see what we're looking at here. Before I get out of quarterbacks. Not a Quentin Johnston guy. If you guys watched our rookie breakout a few weeks ago, you saw that I am a notable Quentin Johnston fader. I'm not quite a hater, but I'm a fader on him. He has all the tools, but he lacks a lot of college production metrics that tend to lean towards wide receiver 1-2 production in the NFL. So I'm probably not going there, and he got drafted already. I still like Tyler Algier here, though I doubt he survives to my pick at the 808. Khalil Herbert, we talked about at the beginning of this. I like him. I hope he survives the offseason. Again, not worried about the Foreman signing, not worried at all about Travis Homer being there. I think that he's more talented than both of those guys very clearly. James Robinson and Juju Smith-Schuster come over to New England. We'll pause there. We'll wait to talk about the New England guys till we get out of this turn. All right, we still have Algier. I'm really hoping he falls. Both of these guys are light at running back as well as me, so I doubt he makes it. But I'll be okay if he does. It would be great if I don't get sniped here. But I see Charbonnet, so I'm okay either way. It would be great if, and he timed out. That probably means he takes Algier. Nope. All right, Algier survives. We're going to grab the RB1 in Atlanta. Another guy that if he survives the offseason could very well be creeping into the RB1 conversation come mid-October, late November. I like that risk. Zach Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, 2 other guys that I was looking at. David Montgomery down at running back 34 is essentially free, like that pick. We'll wait for New England talk and free agent talk until we get out of this turn. Looking ahead here, I probably could start looking at running or wide receiver and tight end depth as well. I see Zay Flowers, a hyped rookie. I like that guy quite a bit. The 5'9" height scares me, but I think ultimately he'll be okay. Darnell Mooney, now probably the wide receiver 3 in Chicago. Don't love that. Well, he just got drafted anyways. Juju at wide receiver 50 is an all-time buy. That's a guy that I'll be taking in a lot of drafts. Mac's going to use him well. He probably isn't a wide receiver 1, but he's a wide receiver 3 in PPR leagues that you're getting a wide receiver 50. Those type of guys, while they're not going to win you leagues, they make sure that you're going to make the playoffs. They give you weekly depth. So, 3 picks away. Looking at Charbonnet here, heavy. I feel pretty confident trying to pick and choose wide receivers late. Running backs not so much. Let's see how it progresses here. Montgomery, that's a good spot for Montgomery. I bet by the time we get to draft season, he's a guy that's going in the first 8 rounds. Doubt he pushes the top 6, but I think the narrative's going to be that he's the starter and Swift's the backup. Camp narratives are going to be strong in Detroit this year, guys, so don't buy into those too hard one way or another. Had a timeout. Alvin Kamara's an interesting guy here. I'm not going to grab him since I had Mixon. If I didn't grab Mixon earlier, I might look at Kamara, probably suspended 4 to 6 games. The question is, how good do you think the Saints are going to be? Are they going to be 2-3 years ago New Orleans, or are they going to be more akin to last year where they're not scoring a lot, they're not playing very well? I don't know that answer. I like to think that Derek Carr is at least a top 15 NFL quarterback. I don't know. A lot will be revealed this year. All right, Zach Charbonnet here. Brian Robinson here, Juju. I'm thinking about all three of those. However, I think that, yeah, I think it's pretty clear for me. I'm going to go Charbonnet, and then I'm probably going to go on a little wide receiver run, barring any crazy value. Charbonnet is my running back, too, for me. He's an elite plus prospect. I feel like he's a guy that can step in and be a top 24 running back his first year. So that's a guy that I'm in the ninth round. I'm taking in a lot of drafts. All right, James Robinson, 2 years, $8 million. Juju Smith-Schuster, 3 years, $33 million. Both going to New England. I love the Juju signing. We just talked about him earlier, coming off of this turn. Juju's a guy who a lot of people shit on him for TikTok, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. He's a little bit of a goofball. However, he's not a bad wide receiver. I mean, we just saw in Kansas City the dude had a wide receiver 33, 34 year. I don't think he's at all a bum. I don't think he's a guy that's going to have no value. A lot of people are low on New England. I'll tell you what, this offense this year will be better than last year, and it's not going to be close. That Bill O'Brien shit does not fly. I'm not sure why. That Matt Patricia shit just does not fly. Sorry. I don't know why we brought Patricia in and thought it was a good idea. Bill O'Brien's a huge upgrade. Juju's going to be fine. Now, the James Robinson deal is what I don't understand, right? Kevin White, Pierre Strong both get drafted last year. We already have Ramondre, who got drafted 2 years ago. So all these running backs on rookie contracts, and Bill brings in James Robinson with a torn Achilles in his injury history. The running backs with those Achilles injuries don't tend to come back very pretty. Like, they're just not. And James Robinson didn't look great last year. He had a couple good weeks to start the year that were mostly just, touchdowns buoyed it by quite a bit. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. Throughout his career, he's going to be just a jag grinder type running back who will get 3 to 5 yards between the tackles when you need it, but nothing much more. I don't think he's worth 2 years, $8 million. I don't know what the guaranteed numbers are. I'm sure it's much less than that. I'm sure it's probably like really a 2-year, $4 million contract. But even then, too much when we have this cheap running back room. All right, picks coming up. Looking at wide receivers here more so than running backs. Also tight ends and quarterbacks. Let's adjust this real quick. I might grab Aaron Rodgers with that Dak Prescott pick earlier. Let's see what we got down the board. Yeah, so I think actually what we're going to do, if Donovan Peoples-Jones survives, I'll probably, he did not. So, we're going to go down the board a little bit. Josh Downs, he has an elite analytical profile. The only negative would be, again, 5'9" height, which we're seeing more and more in this game not matter. He's a guy that plays much bigger than that. No, he plays like he's 6'5". He is the only wide receiver available, and we're going to just confirm, but he's the only wide receiver available with any type of real chance to be the guy. Ooh, we have Odell later, but we'll go Josh Downs. Josh Downs is the only guy outside of Odell who has a real chance to be the dude. Not saying he will be, but he'll probably get late first, early second draft cap. The guy's going to be a producer, or he'll be on the field, which is a good predictor for production. So let's go ahead and grab Downs 1008. Probably looking to double dip at wide receiver. Avoiding Lazard to the Jets. I know Rodgers is going to be there more likely than not. Alan Lazard's a jag as a wide receiver. I was real big into him last year because he was Aaron's one. And he did fine last year, but I also know his limits. And even right here with what I got, wide receiver, 55 to 70, I'm grabbing Odell over Lazard in a best ball any day of the week. Got 4 picks coming up. Let's see who's available still. It's pretty deep. Running back wise, Hunt, Mitchell, Zeke, Madison, who re-signed with Minnesota today. Rashad Penny, who is interesting, but I feel like is not going to play very many games in an Eagles uniform. All right. All right, Boyd off the board, Palmer off the board. I think that's about Odell Beckham o'clock. R.I.P. Antonio Gibson, man. I remember when that guy was the next CMC, how the mighty have fallen. Oh, my God. I remember for years, literal years, I'm on the clock. Okay, Odell coming in as my 11th round pick. Again, another guy who in this late tier can be a top 36 wide receiver. You buy those. Okay, so let's go. Let's talk about Antonio Gibson. Right, this is a guy who out of Memphis plays wide receiver, plays running back. Everyone is hyping this man the fuck up, and he just doesn't return the value he's supposed to. He's not bad, and this is the thing: is everyone the whole deal with Antonio Gibson is if you gave him the workload, the metrics say he'd produce, but it never happens. And he played for Ron Rivera, which is probably not the best coach for that type of skill set, but they use Curtis Samuel really, really creatively, so I almost wonder if it's more an Antonio Gibson's not as good as the fantasy community thinks situation. Miles Sanders, let's jump over to Miles Sanders. Let's get back into free agent talk. Miles Sanders signed a 4-year, $25 million deal in Carolina. Clear starter, Chuba Hubbard's there. That guy is going to be a receiving back. He's not going to be a starter over Miles Sanders. Pretty interesting. He got 4 years, $25 million. He didn't have the best first contract of running backs ever, but I think he's going to provide a lot of second contract value. This is a guy who was lightly used in Philadelphia, explosive runner, maybe struggles 0 to 5 yards, but man, if he breaks that 5-yard mark, he's gone. Home run hitter. It'll be an offense with a rookie quarterback. Frank Reich's going to be leading it, so the play design will be good. Rookie quarterback will mean that they're going to want to take some pressure off of him with the run game. I'm really excited for Miles Sanders, so long as, again, he survives the offseason. That's the big word with a lot of these running backs, right, is can you survive the offseason? Do you survive the draft? Do you survive the rest of free agency? We still have a few big dominoes with, like, Dalvin Cook, maybe a Derrick Henry, even though I doubt either of those guys go to rebuilding Carolina. Carolina in general has made some good moves on the topic of them. We have Hayden Hurst going there. Ian Thomas re-signing, who's a good blocking tight end, good culture guy there. He's been playing for Carolina for a while. I think that they're not going to be great this year, but I think they're going to start building something, right? And in 3 to 5 years with C.J. Stroud at the helm, I'm assuming they're probably going to be really good. And good for Frank Reich, who's always been a really good NFL coach, for finally getting a quarterback. Because for years, that guy was dealing with the ghost of Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett and Carson Wentz, and he finally gets a guy who is a real quarterback that he got to choose. So I'm good for Frank Reich. All right, let's see what's on the board here. I might look. I mean, all positions should be open at this point. Probably not too worried about tight end quite yet. Let's see what quarterback's looking like. Probably help if I had him on. Out of this tier, Devin Akane is someone who I'm curious about. Probably go Bryce Young, though. Quarterback, too. He'll be a day one starter in the league. He's a top 5 quarterback prospect for me in the last 7 or 8 years. Behind just a few, think of Trevor Lawrence, think guys like that, those real elite, high-level quarterback prospects. Bryce Young's up there with them. Frank Reich in Carolina, back to that. Excited for them. I think that they're gonna do well. Zeke gets cut. Malik Davis is a name to know in deep dynasty leagues, right? Dallas has used 2 running backs for a very long time. So exploit it. Malik Davis was okay when he was in last year. It wasn't a large enough sample to really glean anything from. But if I can get a guy who might get some value, again, if he survives the offseason, there's that phrase again. If he survives the offseason, there's a non-zero chance that Tony Pollard can't handle that huge workload and Malik Davis ends up playing a good amount, right? All right, Tennessee, Louisiana just tipped. We have Houston tipping in 5 minutes. Northwestern looks like they're going to beat Boise State, and then St. Texas looks like they're going to beat Colgate. It's been a good March Madness. I hope you all had Furman picked as an upset win. I know I had it in my bracket. Tony Bennett's not a great college coach. He's a good one that won a national championship, so he got overhyped a little. Virginia is one of the easiest upset picks every year. Hoping Tennessee can pull out against Louisiana. They seem to be built pretty similarly. Texas is not having any issues with Colgate, though I doubt they make it deep in the tournament. Back to football talk. We're about to pick again. Just grabbed my second quarterback in Bryce Young with my last pick. Probably don't need another quarterback, so we'll slide that off. Again, looking at Devin Akane, Antonio Gibson, Hodgins Gallup. Let's go ahead and grab P. Ryan. Looking like he, again, if he can survive the draft, will have a good role in Denver until Javonte comes back. In this running back tier, I'm not rushing to grab a Kane. I don't know if he'll even carve out a role this year or not. So, going back to Dallas, Zeke. If Zeke goes to a good landing spot, I think Buffalo, I could see him maybe creeping up back into that top, just barely into the top 24 running backs. I'm talking RB 24 to 20, not top 15 running back. Again, maybe a dynasty buy. The manager in your league with Zeke might be so done with him that they're going to sell him for a box of chips and some Pringles, so like 2/3 and a fourth. If I'm a contender, I'll probably do that. I'll probably sell him if there's any chance at all, if I can recoup more value than I sent, because I'd rather have draft pick value to trade than an aging running back retire on my roster. But for the time being, he's a good pickup. All right, let's go ahead and throw tight end back in here. We don't want to get left in the dust. Damian Harris is a curious running back in this area. He's a guy who has shown that he can produce as a starter, though I think it's more Jag-type production than real high-level running back talent. Michael Mayer, who I think is more good tight end like Cole Kmet than elite tight end. Juwan Johnson, I'll probably wait for him as my second tight end if all things break right. Tim Patrick later, I like that a lot. Man, a Kane keeps falling to me. If he survives to my pick, I think that's my guy. I like Isaiah Hodgins a little bit, but I just feel like he's going to get buried in the depth chart in New York. They're going to sign other guys. Tyjae Spears is a Twitter darling. I like him quite a bit. Landing spot's going to matter a lot there. Chark, a guy that I've always liked Chark since his first year. I think I might have liked him a little too much the last couple of years, ranked him a little too high, need to adjust. But he's a guy that always gets underlooked. Let's see, Roschon Johnson, depending on landing spot, could hold some value. Not huge on him. Bigsby, same way. We're getting pretty deep now. Kendre Miller from TCU, I really like that guy. He snuck into my top 5 running backs in these last few weeks. Let's get back up. 4 picks away, 3 picks away. Tucker, Renfro, Spears, Chark, Claypool, Butte, Mostert, Higbee, Samuel, Johnson, guys that are left. I think I might go Tyjae Spears. I really need more. I need to go wide receiver here, but the running back depth wouldn't hurt either. I probably should go Juwan Johnson, and I can finish this draft out going straight running back, wide receiver. We'll do that. Juwan Johnson probably can sneak into the top 15 tight ends again this year, especially with Derek Carr. He just signed a contract extension. A guy that, really good athlete. I want to say he was a college wide receiver, I think in Iowa State, but I'm not certain there. In this back-end tight end range, he's probably my guy. Just like how I felt about Njoku and Ingram last year, that's how I feel about Juwan Johnson this year. Alright, so we can go ahead and slide off the tight ends. Hopefully Chase Claypool falls to me. That's my guy right now. I really like Chase Claypool late. Wide receiver 72 I feel like is entirely too low for his talent level. Obviously, he had a bad year last year after the trade. He got traded during the year. That's what happens. You don't just step in and click right away most times unless you're just a top-end elite veteran wide receiver, which he's not, and that's okay. All right, we are 5 picks away. Chase Claypool still available. I was looking down maybe at a guy like Terrace Marshall, who I doubt they bring in anyone too terribly talented. Tim Patrick, with talks of both Sutton and Judy getting traded, Tim Patrick might be a sneaky top 50 wide receiver that a lot of people just completely forget about because he didn't play last year. He also might start getting a little bit older and not playing as well and maybe aging out. I don't know. That post ACL tear year can be a little bit interesting one way or another for these guys. Tyquan Thornton's a wide receiver I'm probably not in on. I just don't think Matt can get the ball to him enough, and I don't know if he's necessarily all that talented. All right, we have 4 picks again. I like Tyjae Spears here. I might go Tim Patrick. I've kind of talked myself into him right here. Khalil Shakir is someone who's interesting. I like Kendre Miller, but not. The 15-5 is okay, but I need wide receivers, I feel like. So we'll go Tim Patrick. Hopefully Russell. I'm curious to see what Russell Wilson does this year with Sean Payton. I've heard a lot about how it's a tryout year, how if this year doesn't go well, he's going to get cut. I've heard a lot of that. I really hope that he can get it together. Russ, for as corny and goofy as he is a great quarterback. He's one of the best in this new modern era, or the 2010s at least, the 2010s era. And he deserves, I don't want to say he deserves, but he was such a good player, he deserves a good ending, right? Not this. And I hope he gets that. He was fun to watch for a lot of years, really risky. I mean, Russ was notorious for having 8 good games and 8 bad games because he was just heaving that bitch down the field, and it really didn't matter where it was going. Hopefully, Sean Payton corrals that a little bit. Obviously, when you start getting some athleticism sapped from you, it's not going to be quite as easy to just run out of the pocket and throw it 60 yards. All right, I think we know that Aaron Rodgers is going to go to New York now. We hear a lot about New York playing hardball, but I just don't see how they have any type of leverage here. Sure, they have the guy, but all he has to do is show up and start being toxic towards the team makeup, toxic towards his younger teammates, which isn't ideal, but we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, who's petty as hell. I wouldn't be shocked by it. All he has to do is show up and do that and then get that cap hit. And I am sure that they're not going to want to put up with that long. They traded Brett for a conditional 3rd-round pick, if I remember correctly. You hear that they want Matt Stafford compensation. Well, let's think about what Matt Stafford compensation is. It was a 1st-round pick for Matt and a 2nd first so they could take Jared Goff's contract. It wasn't 2 firsts for Stafford. So I could see the Jets maybe sending over like a 24-1, but I doubt they give up the 13 for Rodgers. He's 39 years old. I mean, we just saw he said he was 90% ready to retire. Who knows if that's true or not? We don't know with him. He likes the drama, so I'm not even going to speculate there. Who knows if that is serious or not? But if that's true, why would you want to give up even a first for a dude that might be retiring after this year? Food for thought there. Louisiana's fighting Tennessee hard right now. Up 1 with 15 minutes to go in the first half, very early in that game. The Ragin' Cajuns play really, really tough, stingy defense. Not a great offensive team, but when you play that good a defense, it doesn't really matter quite as much. We got Texas looking dominant against Colgate finally. They struggled to break the game open there for a while, but it looks like they got that done. Princeton beating Arizona earlier was absolutely ridiculous, guys. People are asking if Tommy Lloyd is the next Mark Few. Literally. I'm people. It's me. Arizona's just struggled these last 2-3 years with Lloyd in the big dance. That's not indicative of him forever. Obviously, it's his first few years as a head coach, but really, really similar to Mark Few. Hopefully Tommy Lloyd gets it together. College basketball is better when the blue bloods are good. When Arizona, Duke, UNC, Kansas, UCLA are all good, it's much better. KU doesn't have to worry about that. We're a consistent, perennial top 10 team. Unlike all the other blue bloods who go through ebbs and flows, we're just consistent. So don't got to worry about us. But the others, yeah. Duke's a 5 seed this year, if anyone forgot. Probably the best 5 seed in a long time, but they're a 5 seed. All right, coming up on my pick. Ooh, Michael Carter's falling. Collins, Mechie, Kendre Miller, Marvin Mims. I like Mims. Robert Woods. If I'm grabbing a Houston receiver, I'm grabbing Woods, so I'm probably avoiding all of them. Man, oh man, this is getting a little rough late. Let's see. So I grabbed Collins. Let's go Kendre Miller. I like him quite a bit. This is a guy out of TCU Measurables and analytics love him. He's quite similar athletically to Bijan Robinson. I'm not saying talent-wise, athletically, measurables and athleticism. Grab him there late 16th round. Obviously, the landing spot's going to be huge for all rookie running backs. Guys, I think that the team that upgraded the most this offseason through just obviously 3-4 days of free agency, the Panthers are up there. I feel like they have added, Hayden Hurst, Sanders, some defensive players. You can tell the building blocks are getting assembled, the first round picks there. So I'd say they've probably gotten the best. Number two, and obviously who's gotten the best through a few days of free agency is going to be the team with the most cap room. But the Bears, they've done well for themselves. I'm glad that the front office made the decision to not give Montgomery that contract because it wasn't worth it, right? They just cleared a similar talent level between the three backs for the same amount of money as they would have spent for one David Montgomery. That's okay. So they got better. You have a TJ Edwards, you have a Tremaine Edmonds in the middle, so they can run that cover two with the flag runner. They're gonna be I'm not gonna say really good. They're gonna be improved. The question mark is gonna continue to be: is Justin Fields an elite quarterback, or is he an elite fantasy quarterback, or is he a good quarterback? Right? Because if he's just an elite fantasy quarterback, they're gonna really struggle. Okay, my pick is up. I already have a name in mind, barring. Sweet. We're going to go Rob Woods here, right? I skipped out on Nico Collins earlier. I skipped out on John Mechie. Give me the veteran, assuming Bryce Young's going to be there. Robert Woods might have a little top 50 season left in him. He's a guy that I would not be doubting quite yet. Okay, going back, the Bears got a lot better this year, or this offseason so far. A lot of time left. I'll tell you who hasn't gotten much better is New England. I'm quite upset about how my team has gone about their offseason. James Robinson, come on, 2 years, $8 million. That's just we've drafted so many running backs the past 4 years. Pick a guy and leave him. Stop bringing more guys in. Let's not waste contract money there. Juju, I like that signing. The fact that I hate New England's offseason is much more due to the fact that we have no weapons. We let Jacoby walk. We still don't have second, third wide receivers. Our running back room's good, not great. Our line's good, not great. Our defense is, we need talent at cornerback. We need talent in the linebacker spots. We have so many holes, and we're just not filling them, which has perpetually been a Bill Belichick GM problem over these last 10, 15 years. And at this point, as a Patriots fan, I'm almost ready for Bill to be done so that we can have a normal GM that makes normal decisions. All right, coming up 10 picks away. I'm pretty set. I might look at maybe going third quarterback depending on who's available. Tannehill's probably the only one I could see starting a full 17 that's available right now. As we talked about earlier with Heineke, Ritter's not going to do that. Dwayne McBride here, running back 65. I love some Dwayne McBride, even though he's a guy that a lot of people don't realize is that good because he played at UAB and he was a little bit low-key. Cedric Tillman, another guy that I like really, really, really late in these super deep underdog drafts. Had Cedric Tillman been healthy, Jalen Hyatt wouldn't have had the season he had. We wouldn't talk about him quite the same. All right, we're 5 picks away. We're in home run lottery ticket area. You're not grabbing guys that are low end backups. You're grabbing guys who either are going to hit really, really, really hard or miss completely. No in between. We're going to go ahead and grab a third quarterback with Bryce Young. He's so small, nothing's out of the question in terms of injury. As long as he makes it out alive, I'd probably go Sam Howell. But I really want Tannehill because I think that Brissett could beat Ritter out, if I'm being honest with you. Got a little tight end run here of all these guys who are extreme dart throws. Jelani Woods, that's a name that if you are in dynasty leagues, if you have a late third or early fourth burning a hole in your pocket, go grab Jelani Woods. Shane Steichens loved his tight ends. He's used them well. Oh, Tannehill got sniped from me. Let me go Baker Mayfield. I bet he does end up starting at least half of the games in Tampa Bay, if not more. I bet he ends up as the day one starter. Does he start all 17? That's the question. All right, we got 2 more picks. We got 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 7 receivers, 2 tight ends. Probably going to end with, it'll probably be a 3-7-8-3. No, 3-7-8-2. Got to figure out who those are, though. I'm liking Dwayne McBride here. He's a guy, if you've been watching us for a while or watching my content for a while, you know I'm a big Dwayne McBride guy. Obviously, like all running backs, I've said it all night, landing spot dependent, though his size metrics are really good. His production metrics are great. It's just really dependent upon that speed score, which if he runs 4.55 or faster, we're good. Let's see. Zach Evans, not a guy that I like a lot here in any draft. He just, other than being a 5-star, what exactly has he done well? We got Houston up 1 on North Kentucky. I didn't quite get to see if Sasser's playing or not, but I'm thinking he's not, assuming that they wouldn't risk further chance of injury against a North Kentucky team that they should handle quite easily. All right, 2 picks up. I might go Allen Robinson just for the pride. Again, if you guys have listened to me for any amount of time, you know I was a huge Allen Robinson truther. I just want the guy to have like one more good year. Give me 1 wide receiver 40 year for Allen Robinson, and I'll be happy, right? Give him like 1 okay year, because I feel like he should be at least somewhat okay, and he's just not, right? It just, ever since that Justin Fields Chicago year, downhill. All right, guys, we got 1 more pick. Let's see, it's 2008. This is rough. Probably Israel Abanikanda, who, if he goes to an outside zone team, think Miami, he'll be really, really, really good. That's if he ends up there, though. Deep in these underdog drafts, you're just reaching for, you're just grasping for straws here. It's just whatever you can find. I frequently find myself very overweight on a lot of these later picks because I'm very zeroed in on, I feel like these guys have a high chance of hitting at a high rate and all the others don't. And this late, if your ceiling is a wide receiver 6, I don't want you. Even if your floor is a wide receiver 8, because you're literally never going to make it into my lineup. I only want players who have a chance of making it into my lineup. If I want guys who are going to be steady contributors, I'm getting them around 5 to 12. I'm not getting them 13 plus. It's silly. See how many picks. We got 11 picks. We're just under a round left to go. Curious to see how this shakes out. I'm glad you guys stayed around and watched. This is the first live stream, purely just a practice run. I have never done these before. We'll be doing a lot more of these. Caden will be joining me on these. It won't just be myself. Tonight was just me, just to get it going so we know Saturday what's going on. We'll be back Saturday, probably 8:30. Same deal, hanging out on the live. Caden will be with me. We'll go way deeper on free agency and all that good stuff. Tonight, between the draft, setting it up, paying attention, keeping going, a lot to juggle and focus on, but we'll be a lot smoother Saturday. So I appreciate everyone that stuck around. I've got 1 last pick. I'm going to show you guys my roster, and then I'm going to get out of here. So we'll wrap this up in about an hour. Wow, Houston's down 1 right now to North Kentucky. 9 minutes in, Jarrence Walker just made a good layup. This tournament's been interesting. It was very evident going in, right, that this field was wide open. All year long, different number 1s, different top 5s. It wasn't like we had this established number 1 and established top 10 all year, right? It was fluctuating all year. So you knew it was going to be ripe for upsets. But some of these, Princeton beating Arizona, come on. Who would have guessed? I had Furman over Virginia. I also had Utah State over Missouri. That one didn't go as well, right? So it's been an interesting year picking these upsets like it is every year. You're not going to be perfect. But this has been an especially fun year. Curious to see if North Kentucky can finish it out at all. Jarris Walker just got a charge. I don't know if that's his first or second foul. I don't have audio on. That'll be huge if that's a second. He'll have to sit the rest of the 10 minutes of the first half. All right, 2 minutes to go. 1 minute to go with my last pick. Probably going Israel Abanikanda here. We'll see what all is down the board. Give me Nathan Dell. Nathaniel Dell, wide receiver, Houston's my last pick. Another 5'9" receiver. If you love Zay Flowers, if you like Zay Flowers, you ought to freaking love Nathaniel Dell, though. Much cheaper, similar type of guy, similar analytical profile. All right, guys, like I said, I'll show you what my team looks like here. Then we'll get out of here, be done. Again, thank you all for staying. We just hit our first 100 view video recently. In 2 days, we almost hit another. That's amazing. I mean, that's awesome. I quite literally cried when I saw it. I was so excited. I pour a lot of time into all of this, and so it's came a long way, and it really makes me excited when it gets that reception. I don't really care if anyone agrees with me or not. It's just the hearing me out and caring enough to hear me out, that's appreciated. So that's great. We're almost out of here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, second to last pick. Again, how the mighty have fallen. I remember a lot of Jonathan Taylor Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Jonathan Taylor takes back in the day. I think fantasy frontman's probably out. I think he's out of the draft. All right. So, this is the team we just drafted. Got Dak Prescott, Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield as my quarterbacks. I like that. It's not necessarily my most favorite quarterback room ever, but for a one quarterback league, this is very serviceable, right? I'm pretty happy. Running backs, Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, Tyler Algier, Zach Charbonnet, Samaje Perine, Kendre Miller. Chef's kiss. Beautiful. This is a great RB room. I love it. Breece Hall should be an RB1. Joe Mixon, if he comes back to the Bengals, RB1. Algier could be mid RB2 or higher. Charbonnet has good potential. Perine's going to play. I love this. This might be my favorite RB room I've drafted. Wide receivers, Hopkins, London, McLaurin, Downs, Odell. Those 5 are all high upside swings. They might not materialize. I only need a few of them to. Tim Patrick, Rob Woods down the board, hopefully going to bring some consistent flex value. Allen Robinson, Nathaniel Dell, rounding it out just as home run hits. And then Travis Kelce, Jawan Johnson at tight end. Guys, let me know what you think of the roster. I'm going to be clipping, making shorts of this. So you'll see it on YouTube. But let me know what you think of my roster. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, staying to the end. I'm out of here, guys. Have a good night.